Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hello. Happy Friday, everybody. Rusty, Jersey Red, what's happening? Thanks, as always, for being so active in the comments. Appreciate it. Jay, what's up? Good to see you. Jeff Steen, what's up? Happy Friday back at you. Theodore. Mark B is ready for some killer finger picking. All right. We're going to dive into it in a sec. Danny, what's going on? Gerald in Ottawa. Welcome. Steve in NH, what's up? Hello, Jeff Alfred, what's going on? I'm always lurking in the background. Yeah, you got me. Tien in Vietnam, as always, welcome. Red, what's up? It's a Friday night. All right, Red, so seems like a good time after the session. Elias, what's up? Good to see you as always. Ray, good to be back dealing with lots of smoke. Oh, man, what a tough situation. I hope you're all good and safe. Jason, what's up in Perth? Good day, good day. John from London, Ontario. All right, welcome. Chris, what's going on? Marco, greetings. Alonzo, finger picking good. I like it. Robbie from Australia, good day. Riff Wrath from Venice, California. Love the name. There you go. Rad Flying V, what's up? Good to see you. Gerald, Evans, Georgia. All right. MA from Tacoma, love it. Guy from Quebec, welcome. Jake64, what's up? Russ, what's going on? Scott, what's going on? Robin, good evening. Excellent. Scott, welcome. Glad you're here for the first live lesson. Derek's in Whitby, Ontario. All right, welcome. Jay Tarpo blasting down the 405, man. Yeah, you got to be safe out there, though. 405, man. Are you kidding me? I've been on it many times, so I know what that's like. Well, I'm glad you're here. Zane, what's going on? Jim Gregory's got some new elixirs on the acoustic, ready to rock. I love it. Excellent. Steve, welcome. Oh, yeah, and Scott from Edmonton, my birthplace. All right. Edmonton, Alberta. Love it. So welcome, everybody. If you're new to this, please expand the description below the video, and I have some links, a link to a PDF with the tabs we're going to go through tonight. Well, we do this each and every Friday. We usually alternate between the acoustic and the electric, which will be next week, although most of these exercises are easily transferable. So if all you've got is electric, please follow along. Still applicable stuff that you can adapt for either, right? Sporty in Gary, Indiana. Angela, welcome. Derek's in SoCal. I love it. Welcome. Okay, so yes, once again, just expand the description, get the PDF. And for those of you who maybe were waiting or grabbed the PDF earlier today, there was a mistake in it. I caught it about a half hour ago. And so there's a version 2 up there now, okay, where the mistake's fixed. But if anybody downloaded it before about a half hour ago, you might want to check into that, okay? Because go expand the description and get the new version 2. Just a slight little mistake in there. Jeff's got the Wolfgang tonight. Love it. Terry's in the house from Florida. I love that as well. Okay, everybody. Let's get started. A little bit of a warm-up, 1-4-5 progression. Some of you might have heard that terminology before. Larry, what's up? I'm back at you. Good to see you. So exercise 1, we're going to play in the key of G, 1, 4, and 5 chords in the key of G. The 1 chord is G, the 4 chord is C, and the 5 chord is D. Just some simple open chords, okay? And just getting the fingers moving a little bit. And just a little bit of motion going on between the fingers. So our G chord's going to be 3rd fret of the low string, 2nd fret of the A string, open D, open G strings, and then 3rd fret of the B, 3rd fret of the high string. So sort of an alternate open G. A lot of you might have the open G with the open B string. Just a slightly different sound, but you can also have the D note, 3rd fret of the B string. And just a little bit of a subtle difference there. So you can easily interchange these variations of the G chord. Just a quick primer for those of you brand new or beginner players looking to just sort of get into finger picking. The key is to be as relaxed as you can. If you tense up a little bit, you tend to lose your timing, lose your groove a little bit. Okay, always try and be as relaxed as you can. So you can see I'm sort of up on the top bout of the acoustic guitar, just resting on that so that my hand comfortably comes down at an angle, just sort of in this part of the sound hole, kind of on the edge of the sound hole, just sort of somewhere in the middle here between the saddles on the bridge and sort of the edge of the fretboard is sort of a nice place to start. Now, that's not to say that you can find some cool tones over here or over here, and sometimes we do that a lot. It's a musical choice. It's a little more trebly on this side, a little more bassy on this side. So good part is just right in the middle where it's a little more balanced. Okay, nice and relaxed. Okay, I tend to be one that floats my fingers over the strings. A lot of people like to sort of anchor, maybe with their pinky, on the pick guard and pick that way. That's equally as valid. Okay, James, what's up? Good to see you. So just a little bit of primer there, and those of you on Guitar Tricks, of course, check out some of the finger picking instruction. You're going to see a little of it in fundamentals. You're going to see a little of it or a lot more of it in the acoustic course, and also check out Lisa McCormick's lesson pages, where she's got a bunch of extra material, and she has some beginner finger picking courses, some collections of tutorials to take you through, give you lots of examples, because of course we want lots of stuff to practice, right? So I will leave it at that. All right. So the last thing is on the tabs that I send out on this. I will assign numbers to some of the strings here to sort of just give you a guide as to what fingers to use on what strings. And I do that just as a suggestion, just as a guide. It is by no means the only way to do it. Okay, so you might feel like different fingers on different strings might feel a little more natural to you, and that's totally fine. Okay, it's just a suggestion for you. Okay, so it's not locked in stone as to which fingers do the strings. It's just a little bit of a suggestion if you're looking for some instruction on that. Okay, so what I've got is the G chord on this first one. Dave in Cleveland, all right, you made it. Excellent. And Scott, back again after not being here a couple weeks. Welcome back. Love that. So we're going to go with thumb, and then the first finger on the open D string, middle finger open G string, third fret of the B string with the ring finger. Okay, but then I'm going to move the thumb to the A string. So I'm moving to the A string on the thumb, and then I'm moving up. All right, same fingers, but on the G, B, and high E string. So there's a little bit of motion in that first bar, right? So, okay, so that's a nice little exercise just to get moving on the strings. And I've got 2 bars of that, so you can repeat that. Okay. Robin, what's up? All good. Terry, what's happening? And so we're going to move to the C chord after that. And by the way, these exercises, have chord changes, have some changes in the strings that you're finger picking. Okay. So it's completely okay to just take a bar and just work on one bar until you get it. And once again, go slow until you get it. Okay. You might not be able to go as fast as this at first. Okay. You might find it a little difficult. It is totally okay to just sit there and try to go nice and slow like that. Okay. And just kind of add some repetition into that. Say, okay, for the next couple minutes, I'm just going to do that at this speed. That's how we program the fingers and burn away the resistance that we feel in our muscles, right? Because if we're new to this, it's not going to feel very natural necessarily, okay? And so in order to make it feel natural, we just got to do that repetition, nice and slow, just making sure that you're executing with the right fingers on the right strings, nicely in time, as in time as you can be. And these are straight 8 notes. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? So it's totally okay to just work on one chord at a time for a couple minutes, as slow as you need to go. All right, bar 3, we're going to move to a C chord, open C shape, a little bit of a different finger picking pattern. So now our thumb's on the A string, but we've got the first finger on the D string, middle finger on the G string, ring finger on the B string, okay? So, but then I'm throwing a little bit of a curveball because I'm adding in the G note, 3rd fret of the low string, which gives us some bass motion. And then going my index finger on the G string, middle finger on the B string, ring finger on the high string. So when you put that together, there's another way you can do this. You can either move your ring finger on the chord, right? This bass motion like this, or you could fret with the ring and the pinky on the 3rd fret of both of those, and then you don't have to move any fingers, right? You just go like that. So there's a couple of options there for you. Messed it up. Here we go. Right? 2 bars of that just to get it going. G over C. It's actually the other way around. Jody 1. C over G. Okay, we want the chord first, and then the root note is after the slash. Okay, so that would be a C over G chord. Sort of made popular by the Beatles, actually. Sort of a Beatles C, right? And it does sound a little bit beefier, right? You can hold that down, totally good. All right? Audible, what's up? Jody 1, dyslexic, I like it. Okay, and then the D chord. And this one's a little bit simpler because we sort of run out of strings, so we can't really move string sets on this one. So we're just going to do thumb on the root, which is the open D string, and then you've got first finger on the G string, second finger on the B string, third finger on the high string, and just going. But then thumb motion to the open A string, but still the same strings on the top plucks, right? So and then final sort of thumb chord rake or a chord sort of just a strum with the finger there for that final G chord. Okay, so going pretty slow on this, playing through the whole exercise just to warm up is going to sound like this. That's a great way to get into it a little bit of movement, some different fingers on different string sets, right? You with me on that? All right. Excellent, excellent. Hanging in. Those of you who just joined, expand the description below the video. We've got links to tabs that we're going through tonight. Each and every Friday we do that, okay? Go through some musical examples, some exercises, some things to hopefully take into your practice routines throughout the week. And remember, as I say every week, the goal of these exercises is to sort of spur some experimentation, not only some inspiration, but experimentation. Play around with different chords, okay? Play around with different chord progressions, experiment with different finger picking patterns, whatever you need to do to just turn one exercise into 10 different ideas is well worth your time. And I strongly suggest that you spend some time with each exercise, but also experiment with it, okay? If that makes sense. Second exercise is similar. I kind of left it over from the last time we did the finger picking boot camp. And I just changed up the strum pattern a little bit. I think it's a great exercise. So basically taking a strum pattern and applying it the same rhythm to arpeggiating a chord, okay? So I'm going to stay on this open D chord. And if you look at this first bar in exercise 2A, we've got the D chord, and it's a quarter note and 4 eighth notes, and then a final eighth note on the end of 4. So you can see there's a sort of a series of tied notes. After that cluster of 4 eighth notes, that last strum holds over the 4th beat of the bar. So you just simply sustain that out, and then you do the final strum on the D chord. So it's going to sound like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So kind of like this. Okay. Now if we apply that same rhythm as an arpeggiation pattern, we end up with exercise 2B, where I'm going to play that same rhythm, but just pick different strings with my fingers. So it's going to sound like this. Okay. So you can see on the D chord with a rhythm like that, works out really nicely from the root note all the way up the strings and back down. Okay, you've got just enough notes in that rhythm to be able to go up and down the chord nice and cleanly, right? Okay. Now if we go to exercise 2C, I'm moving it to a C chord. And now I've got an extra string, right? We've been dealing with 4 strings on the D chord. If I move to the C chord, from the root note to the rest of the chord, I've now got 5 strings. So I've got 2 different choices on how I can finger pick that rhythm. And you can see it in the first bar and then in the second bar. So the first bar, I'm choosing my fingers. Well, I've got my thumb on the root on the 5th string or the A string. I'm choosing my fingers to pluck the top 3 strings. Okay. Or I could move those to the string set down right next to the root notes. So the D, G, and B strings, and go. Okay. So you got a couple choices there. And that's a cool one to alternate, right? Sort of like how we were alternating string sets in the warm-up. This is a great candidate for that. And if you go to an open G chord, you've got even more choices, because now you've got 3 sets of string sets that you could play with that same rhythm, right? Okay. So that's what I mean by experimenting with this a little bit and coming up with some different ideas. You've got loads of options when it comes to finger picking patterns, right? So sort of the more that you explore, the more that you're exposed to, the quicker you're going to get to be able to just, our ultimate goal is to kind of just look at a set of chords and be able to just improvise finger picking some stuff. And that's how that instinct is sort of fostered, is by doing this kind of thing. Okay. What do we got here? Craig, what's up? Welcome, welcome. Bingus is asking a C major triad. Sort of depending on where you're at in the pattern, it could be a C major triad, right? I guess the top 3 strings are, and I guess the D, G, and B strings are as well. So those are self-contained triads, but we are hitting that lower root on there. So you could think of it in terms of hitting a root and then a higher C major triad. Those are definitely correct. Yeah, going back and forth from a C note, a lower C note to a C triad. Absolutely. Good one there. Yeah. That is the case. All right, that's exercise 2. Exercise 3, a little bit of Beetles. I've been practicing for shooting some content on guitar tricks next week. Going to update some Beetles tutorials that we've got on the site. Put them into 5K, right? So this is sort of the part of the bridged version of yesterday. And some cool things going on with this. Let me just play it first, and we'll talk about it a little bit. It kind of goes like this. So an interesting kind of strumming with the, hitting single notes with the thumb, some walking bass lines, right? And also brush strokes with sort of your upper fingers just brushing the upper part of the chord, okay? Laura, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Glad you made it. So we're starting off with a bit of a bar chord, F sharp minor 7. Okay, that's barring down at the 6th fret, adding the 4th fret of the A string, okay? And note sort of the pattern here. We've got 8th notes, so it's 1 and 2 and the first one is that thumb pluck on the root. And then you've got 3 8th notes brush stroking sort of the upper part of the chord, okay? Just nice and relaxed, okay? And you can kind of do this. You can kind of sort of make the shape as if you have a pick and do it that way, or just kind of brush the top of the fingers or the fingernails. I think it gives a good sound on that. Okay. Next chord is a B7. We've got the open B7 chord. 2nd fret of the A, 1st fret of the D, 2nd fret of the G, open B string, 2nd fret of the high string. And again, the thumb with the root. And then 3 brush strokes. So put that together. And that's a bit of a tough chord change, actually, up to speed, right? Coming from this bar chord to like kind of these open chord. All right, so if you have to go really slow for this, it's better for you to go slower and stay in time than it is to sort of drop beats. Because a lot of people might go like that and then sort of wait to get in position. And then do the strums fast when you get to the B7 chord. And a much more effective way to practice this is to go a lot slower and keep the beat. Keep it nice and consistent so that okay? Because as Bingus has said in the chorus, in the comments, sorry, yes, indeed, that is a tough grab. This B7 is always kind of a tough grab, okay? So if you go nice and slow and give yourself time to get your fingers sort of in position to do that, it's a much more effective way to practice that. Okay? Lots of repetition, nice and slow, just on that chord change is going to burn it in a lot more so that you can start to speed it up. But you got to go slow at first with lots of repetition. All right? Second bar is kind of a cool little variation on this because we're going to an E minor chord. And by the way, I know I mentioned this anytime we're on the acoustic guitar, mostly. Okay? But the chord names on the top of the staff is your friend, okay? Because even though it's only showing the 2nd fret of the D string as 1 to fret, as the only note to fret, we are doing an E minor, okay? So I highly recommend that you go to the full chord. And the reason for that is that if you happen to hit the wrong string, at least the chord won't sound out of tune. It'll still be an E minor, right? If we have open strings here and we hit an open A string onto the chord, that changes the tone of the chord. It's not what we expect. It's not what we want there, okay? But if I have an E minor and I happen to hit the A string, it's still going to sound like an E minor, okay? So watch the walking bass here. I've got 2nd fret of the D string, upper 3 strings with the brush stroke, but then I'm going to move to the open D string and then a brush stroke on the upper part of the chord. Okay, so one more time. We're going to continue that walk down to the C chord. So we're going to hit the C note, and then a brush stroke right after that on the top part of the chord. And then move down to the second fret of the A string. And that sort of opens up the open D string as well. But you're holding the C note still from that chord on the first fret of the B string. So. Right, so nice little descending figure here. Which is really nice coming after that specific chord progression, right? Or that specific strum pattern. Okay. Next bar goes back to that original strum pattern, but this time on an A minor 7, open position. So that's the open A string. Second fret of the D, open G string. First fret of the B, open high E string. Thumb, strum, strum, strum. D7, so that's going to be the open D string. Second fret of the G, first fret of the B, second fret of the high string. And then another brush stroke, either with your fingers or your thumb, on that final G chord. So one more time, a little bit slower. There you go, a little bit of brush strokes with some moving bass on the thumb, okay? We good with it? All right, exercise 4, a little bit of a descending finger picking pattern, lots of stuff in this one. So again, it's okay to stay on one chord and just work it, right? Because we're gonna be flying through a bunch of different chord shapes, some different finger picking patterns on this one. So let's just look at this first half of the first bar. You've got an A minor chord, open A minor. And we've got a little bit of an embellishment on the B string, hammer on pull off. Okay, one more time. So I've got the thumb on the A string, plucking with the first finger on the D string, second finger on the G, third finger on the B string. When you get to that B string, it's a hammer-on pull-off from the first fret with your pinky onto the third fret, pulling off. Okay, so if you're new to hammer-ons and pull-offs, even that is going to be an exercise, okay? So with the hammer-on, you're kind of putting some pressure on that pinky, just coming onto the note. And then to pull off, you're almost like you're plucking the string downwards to ring out the note below there. Okay, so you want to practice that before you plug this into. Okay. Next, I'm going to go down to a G bass note. So that's going to open up the upper part of the chord to an A minor 7. I've now got the open D string. But other than the thumb coming to the low string, the upper plucking or the upper finger picking is still the same. Same thing going to the second fret of the low string. Now I've got the open D string and second fret of the G, but still the same embellishment on the B string. Okay, so. So you're going from an A minor, A minor 7 / G, and then D7, whoops, with an F sharp in the bass. So a D7 / F sharp. Coming up and grabbing an F major 7, sort of a different, third fret of the D string, barring down at the 5th fret of the top 3 strings. I'm hitting the thumb and the high string at the same time, and then B string, G string, B string in between. Yes, Terry, these are the same chords as Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, Zeppelin. You bring up Zeppelin. It's very similar to My Guitar Gently Weeps, sort of a descending, sort of a common descending progression in A minor. So I've got F major 7. If I come down 1 fret, okay, and I do the 2nd fret of the D, 4th fret of the G, 3rd fret of the B, and 4th fret of the high string, that gives me a dominant 7th chord. So you got, okay. So putting those first 2 bars together. Okay. Now again, it sort of changes gears a little bit halfway through that 2nd bar, so it's okay to just isolate. Burn that in for a couple minutes. Next 2 bars, just a little bit of a F is the Bakersfield of chords. No one wants to go there. That's funny. That's a California joke right there. Okay, so I've changed it so that in those last 2 bars, bar 3 and bar 4 of this example, being example 4, we're changing the hammer-on pull-off lick to the top string, which is the open string, hammering onto the 3rd fret and pulling off to the open string. But everything else is the same, okay? So you're just sort of skipping 1 up, okay? Thanks, Russ. Glad you like it. And then I ended off with a different sort of mysterious A minor voicing. It's an A minor add 9, open A string, 7th fret of the D string, 5th fret of the G string, and then the open 2 high strings. Okay. Gives it a nice mysterious sound on the final brush stroke, right? So I think pretty cool approach there. Hammer-ons and pull-offs. Definitely an expressive technique that acoustic guitar players use to great effect a lot of the time, right? Excellent, excellent. All right, so we do have a question here from Ben about circle of fifths. What is it? Just a brief thing about the circle of fifths, trying to understand it better. Basically, the circle of fifths is a visual representation of the relationship between each of the keys. Okay, and they do that relationship in terms of fifths. For me, the thing that really helped understanding the circle of fifths is to immediately try to transfer it to the fretboard. Okay, so what we have to do is start with the key signature, or the key that has no flats and no sharps, no flats, and that key is C major. Okay, so what they do is they put C major at the 12 o'clock position of this circle. Okay, so you think of it sort of as a clock. Okay. Okay, so it turns out that if you start with a key, let's start with the key of C, no sharps, no flats. The 5th in the key of C, okay? And if you think about guitar tricks, don't know if you're familiar with the magic, oh my gosh, what do they call it? The magic L from the fundamentals course in guitar tricks. You've got the root note of the key you're in is C. The 4 is F, same fret on the next string. 2 frets up is the 5th. That note is G. Okay, so the 5th in the key of C is G. So it turns out if we go to the next key, which is the key of G major, it has 1 sharp and no flats. Okay, so that's the next one on the circle if you're going clockwise. Okay, now it turns out if I'm going from G in a 5th, C is the 4th, D is the fifth. Okay, so D is a fifth away from G. So now if I go to the key of D, turns out that the key of D has two sharps. So you see where this is going. You see what happens. You've got C at the 12 o'clock. That is no sharps, no flats. The fifth of that is G, key of G, one sharp. Fifth of G is D, two sharps, etc., etc. It goes around the circle, okay? And eventually you're going to get into the flat keys, okay? Where it switches from all sharps to also all flats. And then it goes down, taking away flats as you make your way back to 12 o'clock, okay? The way I like to think of the circle of fifths on the fretboard is to start with C, okay? Go to G, go to D, go to A, go to E, go to B. It turns out it lays out really nicely on the fretboard. If you start with C, okay? The fifth is also, when your root is on the A string, the fifth is on the same fret on the lower string. Right? So you can go C, G. Now, where's the fifth from the G on the low string? Well, it's two frets up on the A string. Okay, so now I've got D, A. Okay? Next one, E, B. So you can see, you can go all the way up the fretboard and do the circle of fifths, and you can do it really easily because it's all laid out on the fretboard consistently, right? C, G, up two frets, D, A, up two frets, E, B, up two frets, F sharp, C sharp, up two frets, etc., etc. Okay? So I like to connect it a little bit to the fretboard, if that makes sense. Okay? Cool. Looks like Ben's getting it. Hope that was helpful. Again, not an exhaustive answer, but at least somewhat giving you, and it's just a visual way to think about those relationships. That's all it is. Okay? Yeah, it does sound like that, right? Yeah, and you can kind of go backwards and have that sound, right? You can go the other way. Definitely has a definite sound to it. All right. Exercise 5, a little bit of Pink Floyd kind of thing. And not sure if this is the exact part, but pretty darn close. Playing off an E minor. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a endurance game here on these chords because they're all bar chords kind of up the neck a little bit. Starting with an E minor in the 7th position, so it's a root 5, or the root's on the A string. Okay, and just alternating between a finger picking pattern between that and D minor, with a little bit of a twist because you are alternating between your middle finger, in this case the 8th fret of the B string, but also utilizing the bar at the 7th fret of the B string and kind of going back and forth. So, for example, it sounds like this. Whoops. Okay. Okay. So you have to move that middle finger up and down. You're starting with it off. And then when you hit that top high string is when you put it down. Okay, and then it's back to E minor. So you've got the E sus2 going to E minor. Okay. Pretty cool one, but again, it's gonna, even me, I got to shake it out after holding it on there. But notice that you're going to start off with a thumb and a pluck on the B string. And also notice this is the first exercise where the way I do it, I'm moving the thumb up onto the D string as well as the A string. Okay, so that's a valuable technique as well, is to, okay. move that thumb back and forth, so that way you can kind of pick with 2 or 3 fingers up top. Don't have to involve the pinky as much, and so you can stick to your strengths. Although I don't never would condone you working on strengthening that pinky. Okay. So yeah, the one I was going for was "Hey You," Pink Floyd, but also Larry. Yes, sounds very similar to Queensryche. I guess that tune is "I Will Remember." I think that's the one I'm thinking of. That sort of has a similar arpeggiation sort of vibe to it. Robin could also be Simon and Garfunkel. There's definitely no sort of lock on this kind of approach, right? So definitely could be that as well. What we're doing is doing that finger picking pattern on one chord and just moving the exact same chord down 2 frets. Okay, just going back and forth on that. All right, sound good? It's definitely a challenging one just to keep your hand endurance on the fretboard with the full bar chords, right? So try not to injure yourself out there. All right. If ever you start, feeling pain or cramps or whatever, you need to stop immediately, right? And come back to it. Okay. I like this. Larry, good thing I'm one of those yahoos that learned my bar chords before anything else. I love it. That's awesome. We get a lot of people learning guitar and they get to bar chords, and that's the super frustrating part, right? Because those take a while. They're very challenging at first. So if you got through it right off the top, good on you, my friend. I love it. Exercise 6, a little bit of a classical thing with some moving melodies up on the high string. Just a short little snippet of a song called Swan Lake. Cool little melody. So let's see. I'm going to play through this and we'll talk about it a little bit. Okay, so let's see. Try it a little bit faster. All right. Challenging thing with this is just a moving melody on one string. Okay. So, oh yeah, Bingus, I think, is talking about, Bingus, are you talking about Pink Floyd, the fretless bass on that one? The "Hey You." Don't forget the bass, y'all. I love it. I think that's what you're referring to. Definitely iconic. Add a lot to that. No on the guitar. Don't forget the bass. Right? Throw it on. Okay, back to exercise 6. Starting with, just playing out of E minor, but what's cool is you've got that high B note. Okay, usually, if you're just finger picking E minor, you might have that open E string, but you can add the B note. Okay. So a pluck and a thumb off the top, and then got some open strings. Again with the pluck and the thumb, but the open B string coming up the E minor scale. So, and then now at the top of the second bar, you've got this slide with the pinky from the 5th fret to the 7th fret at the same time as hitting the thumb on the low string again. Okay, so. Now, next tricky thing in the second bar is this stretch. Okay, I've got the pinky on the 7th fret. I need to get that index finger down to the 3rd fret. Okay. So I'm even doing that. I don't even have my thumb on the back of the neck. So, everybody is kind of a little bit different with the hands, right? So this might be a super tough stretch. So you kind of have to, I sort of straighten my hand out to be able to do that. You can't kind of be at a slant unless you got long fingers, which I do. But if you're coming straight on like this, might help a little bit more. I've also got the thumb completely floating to do that because you're just getting the top string, but you can anchor on the thumb as well. So kind of whatever's comfortable, whatever you can do to make it happen. Okay, and then a few more picks. Back to the 3rd fret, and then the final pluck and thumb on the open outside strings, right? Cool little exercise there, lots of stuff there. So the slide, challenging, the stretch is challenging, okay? All right, whipping through it tonight. Exercise 7, the blues. Always try to get some sort of an acoustic blues thing. This one's a little bit more straightforward than I've done in the past. So hopefully some of you new to the guitar, just starting out, might be able to make this one happen a little bit easier. And this is a full 12-bar blues in sort of a Chicago style. And what we're going to do is just pulse quarter notes on the thumb. Okay? So that first bar, let's just get this groove going. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Okay, so once I got that groove going with the thumb, on the and of 1 and and of 2, I'm adding in a pluck here with 2 fingers on the G and B string. 1st fret of the G, 3rd fret of the B gives us an E7 chord. Okay. Other important thing here is the groove. It's a shuffle. It's a blues shuffle. It's not straight, right? So if it was straight, it would sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, where everything's equally spaced out. But in a shuffle, those ands are pushed closer to the next downbeat, to the next thumb pick. Okay? So 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Okay? Let those ring out. Okay? In the 2nd bar, we're moving to the 4 chord in the blues. It's in this case A7. The upper part of this A7 chord that I chose is 2nd fret of the B, 3rd fret of the high string. Okay. When I get to the B7, which is the 5 chord, a little bit lower down in the progression, I'm going to grab the full B7 chord, even though I'm just thumbing the root, 2nd fret of the A string, and plucking the open B and the high string. Okay. So if you put it together in a 12-bar blues, this is what we got. Okay, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Move to the 4 chord. Back to the E chord. 1 more bar. Now it's the 4 chord for 2 bars. Back to the 1 chord for 2 bars. B7, 5 chord. Down to the 4 chord. Turn around. Okay. Now what was that turnaround? Cool little turnaround, just alternating between 2 little notes. Walking chromatic bass line, right? Start with the low E string, and this all happens over the E7 chord. So low E, upper octave E, 2nd fret of the D string. I'm going to pedal that note as I move the bass note. Like that. So I'm going to go low string, open, 4th fret, 5th fret, 6th fret. So a little bit of a stretch with your pinky. Okay. And right from there, going to the B7, that's a challenge. Get back into the groove on that. Making sense? You with me on it? So that turnaround again. Just repeat the whole thing. I love that. Sometimes the simple stuff is the most effective and it's the most fun to play. Okay, so you really work on your shuffle groove on that one. So there's not a lot of moving parts to this other than just the chord changes. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Right? You with me? Excellent, excellent. Yep, we got it. We're with you. Excellent. All right. Last exercise. Look at that. Vodka. I don't know what it's going to be. Friday night. Hey, thanks. Thanks for the water goblet. Loving it. It's for, I guess, in honor of the monarchy with King Charles, right? Hey, Lamb, what's up? Lamb Eddie from Hong Kong. Eddie Lamb, maybe? Welcome from Hong Kong. Glad to join us. Terry's asking, how's the health and voice doing? Better than lately? Well, I haven't coughed this whole session, so my goodness, that's a win. Knock on the wooden desk, right? Yeah, definitely doing a lot better. So thanks so much for asking about that. It's been a rough 6 weeks, put it that way. Man, I know that a lot of people are going through that. So hopefully you're all good out there. Last exercise. Dust in the wind. We haven't really talked about dust in the wind, I don't think, in these finger picking sessions. Prime example of Travis picking. Always sort of usually end off with some sort of Travis picking progression. And there's no finer one than dust in the wind, right? We have a full tutorial on guitar tricks. There's just a snippet of the intro. And just 2 chords, open C, and just picking the string set from the A string to the B string and A minor. Well, thanks so much, Eddie. I appreciate that. Lamb Eddie. I'm not sure which is your first name. I'm thinking it's Eddie. I'm going to go with Eddie. Okay. Hope you're not offended by that. But thanks so much for that. All right. So the hallmark of Travis picking is that groove root, higher note, or sort of the moving bass. Okay. In this case, alternating the thumb from the A string to the D string. Okay. And filling it in with other fingers on the offbeats. So yeah, so a little history on Dust in the Wind. Terry Clark's got it. This was all a practice exercise, and he happened to be warming up with the band, and they're like, we got to make a song out of that, right? And so they did, and what a huge song, right? So there you go. You never know where it's going to come from. So yeah, starting off, just with getting your thumb going. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, I added in an extra pluck. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so if you go really slow, got to get the and on the open G, back down to the root, and then the and on the C note on the B string, 1st fret. Okay. Go with it nice and slow. Just stay on that 1 bar if you're new to this groove. because all that's happening now is that we are moving notes on the B string each bar. Okay, so look in the second bar, he pulls it off to the open B. Third bar, he puts the pinky on the third fret of the B. And in the fourth bar, he's back at the first fret of the B. Okay? Really cool, right? Faster. Okay. Bingus, that's not how you play it. That might be true. That might be, this might be similar, but it might not be exactly what it is. But we do have the authentic version on Guitar Tricks. So there we go. All right. Jake, Mike, do you anchor your pinky? I do not. I'm a floater. I float over top there, but completely acceptable to do that if it's more natural for you to anchor the pinky. Go for it. Okay. If it centers you, do it. All right. Mike, this is the same picking pattern as Acoustic Level 1 course. Absolutely. So Anders gets into the Travis picking. Okay. So, yes, apologies out to Bingus. I guess I'm playing it a little bit differently than it is, but it's close. Close enough, maybe, for rock and roll. I don't know. Okay. Now we're going to take this idea to the A minor, okay? And what's cool, so really all you're doing is taking your root note off the third fret of the A, putting your finger on the second fret of the G, and now you've got the open A string as this is going to be the exact same picking pattern, but this one happens to start with the open B string, going with your pinky onto the third fret of the B string, then to the first fret, which is the true A minor chord right there, but then down to the open B string. So that set of bars sounds like this. Okay, so put it all together. Those are just the first 8 bars. Of course, it carries on from there. So check out Guitar Tricks for the full version, which as has been pointed out, does have a slightly different picking pattern, I think. So there you go. I think Hey You is the same thing, the Pink Floyd song. I don't think it was 100% what it actually is, but it's got the vibe, right? And it still sounds cool on its own, hopefully. All right. Laura's saying it's easier if I sit classical. There you go. I've actually got the footrest. I find it helps for streams. I've gotten used to the footrest. When we shoot Guitar Tricks videos, the footrest is really handy. So there's that. But I think that you do it on the different classical positions, a whole different thing. We're not going to get into it. But if it works for you, go for it. All right. Red, back at you. Have a great weekend. Audible. This is the go-to. Travis is the go-to on the acoustic. Absolutely. It sounds awesome, right? Russ is saying, if we're learning on this channel, session musicians, we are not. Great job, Mike. Appreciate it, Russ. Thanks so much, everybody. Mark, go to the Roger Waters show if you can. It's visually stunning. Tell you what, I went and saw Roger Waters here in Nashville. I guess it would have been end of August he was here. I did go. And I was blown away, actually. Just an amazing production. Great stuff. Of course, obviously, he did just enough Pink Floyd to satisfy everybody, right? There's a lot of his solo stuff, but man, amazing band, and he's great. So that was an awesome show. Mark, I'm right with you on that. Okay. Terry, I can play better just by ear than trying to read the tabs. Well, go with it then, man. All good. All right. Theodore, thank you. Scott, all good. Thanks so much. Danny, I'm sorry to hear that, my friend. Thanks for tuning in when you're not 100%. Here's to a speedy recovery for you, okay? Thank you, Rusty, Mr. Jersey Red. I appreciate it. Thanks, Alonzo. Jody 1. Barb, thank you. Yes, with the new strings. I even have a new set on this week too. Laura, thank you so much. MA, thank you. Jim and Dave, thank you. Scott, appreciate the kind words and hope to see you each and every Friday. We'll see you next Friday, all right? Thank you so much. Chris, thank you. Guy, thank you. I appreciate that. Jay, as always, you've been you're a veteran of the sessions. I appreciate you coming in each and every Friday. Audible's more of a metal fan, but it spends a lot of time on the acoustic. I love it. Hey man, classic metal. I love that myself. So there we go. MA's got a new guitar, the PRS SE Angelico D40. Sounds cool. Is that an electric? I'm not sure of all the PRS models. I'm not up on it, but enjoy the new guitar. Excellent. Terry, thanks so much. Audible. Rad Flying V, thank you for the kind words. Zane, thank you. We'll see you next Friday. Jason, appreciate the kind words. Thanks so much. Mike, thank you. Larry, thank you. Thanks, Audible. I appreciate that. All right, that's an acoustic. Okay, MA, enjoy the new PRS acoustic. That's awesome. Thanks so much. Rusty's got the same one, so there you go. Jake64, thanks so much for the kind words. Hey, everybody. Have a great weekend. Have a great into next week. And Gerald, thanks. And we'll see you next week. Okay, tune in. Same time, Friday. It's Rhythm Styles on the Electric. And have a great weekend into next week. All right? Take care, everybody. Thanks, Gerald. Appreciate it. Take care. See ya.